Good morning. Good morning. Good morning and welcome, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the 11th annual Wear Red Day celebration with the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness. My goodness, look at all the beautiful faces popping up on our screen. I'm wondering, do you all hear music? I'm not hearing music. We're supposed to be greeted with music coming in this morning. So let's make our own music. Let's get a little jiggle going on behind our screens this morning as we feed in for our 11th annual Black Women's. Wow, we're on this wrong event as well. Welcome this morning to the 11th annual National Wear Red Day celebration and heart disease awareness event. We apologize that you don't hear the Chaka Khan music that we had planned to welcome you this morning as we enter this incredible space today to learn about heart disease prevention and securing our lives. My name is Lisa Payton Kerr, CEO and President of the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness, and we're going to give you more time to feed in. We're here today with our amazing team at the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness offices in Madison, Wisconsin. And we love seeing you feeding in from across Wisconsin and really across the United States today. We were so very excited to see our registration climbing and climbing and climbing this year for this very important event that we convene together each year to talk about preventing heart disease in our community and protecting our lives. We're gonna let you feed in some more, but I'm gonna make my own music over here. We're supposed to be listening to I'm Every Woman by Chaka Khan this morning. So envision that you're listening to Chaka Khan belting out those notes of that classic song that we all love and know word by word. And if we have an opportunity in the background to turn the music on, let's do it for a moment to hype the energy up. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Yvonne. Good morning, Brandis. We see team members tuned in. Good morning, Nikki. Good morning, Candace. Good morning, Tracy Daniel. Good morning, Dawn Krim. We see you. Good morning, Christine Russell. So excited to see you here today with us. Again, this is Lisa Payton Kerr. For those of you who are new to our event this year, welcoming us to the 11th annual National Wear Red Day celebration and heart disease awareness event. Again, my name is Lisa, founder, CEO, and president of the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness. And I'm here today with the foundation team and three very special guests who we'll introduce shortly. It is so very wonderful to see so many of you in the space today looking radiant and red and joining us from across Wisconsin and all over the United States as we celebrate 11 consecutive years of inspiring, informing, and empowering Black women to take hold of our heart health. And a very special welcome today to those of you who are joining us for the very first time. As I said, if you are a first timer to this year's Wear Red Day event, please drop us a message in the chat and tell us where you're tuning in from. We are so happy to have you here. We do welcome you this morning on behalf of our organization, where our purpose, as most of you know, is to empower a generation of well Black women and to build a community, a nation, and a world where Black women and families thrive and prosper. Wear Red Day is very special to us each year. It means a lot to me. Each year during the month of February, which we all know is National Heart Month, we take time to do our part to bring awareness and urgency to Black women about the importance of protecting our hearts and our lives. This is a life conversation that we're having today for Black women of every single age. This is not a conversation for older Black women. This is a conversation for every Black woman. If you are 18 or 88, this conversation is for you. It's about protecting our hearts and our lives, as we know that heart disease is the #1 killer in the United States of all women, and Black women are at the greatest risk, fighting for our lives, literally, to overcome this disease. This event is also very important to me personally for many reasons. Many of you know the story because I've shared it year after year. And I'm sure those of you who have heard the story can envision my mother's face, which is in fact behind Aaliyah as she projects in our office. The work of our organization, the mission of our organization, everything that we do. And this event today is inspired by my mother's life, her example, and also the loss of her to congestive heart failure at the age of 64. And not just my mother, countless women in my family and community. I can name the names, including all three of my paternal aunts who died of heart attack, stroke, and also complications with cancer. So this event is about saving lives, as everything we do at the foundation is about saving our lives. As I said earlier, heart disease, cardiovascular disease is the #1 threat to Black women's health. And it is imperative that each year we continue to spread this message of information, prevention, and how we can live robust, healthy lives, even if we've been diagnosed with a cardiovascular condition. All of us collectively know the devastating impacts of heart disease personally and in our families. I'm sure you can name women and men, mothers, aunts, cousins, neighbors who've been impacted. And we are here today to learn and to take the necessary steps to secure our lives well into the future, because we can and we will. We know that we have been impacted, impacting many thousands of women's lives over the last decade. And I don't know if you know this, but we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary as an organization in our community. Yes, let's clap that up. You'll hear more about that today and throughout the year. It's so very important to us to know that we're making impacts through all the work that we do. And it means so much to us when we receive the testimonies of women each year who not only tell us they learned so much at this event, but who describe this event today and in past years as being life-saving. We have literally had women tell us that they went straight to the doctor Monday morning after this event because they understood the risk factors and the warning signs, things they may not have attached to heart disease. And they found out that there were issues they needed to address. And in many of those cases, life-saving action was required to stave off a stroke or an episode. And so we don't take this event lightly. This is really not about just coming and looking beautiful dressed in our red, which we all do. This is really about listening, learning, taking in this information, applying it to our lives, taking action, and then sharing it with everyone that we love. That is our cycle of empowerment, and we all have the power to save lives through sharing. And we're here to do all of that again today with our team and with a panel of extremely distinguished guests who we'll introduce shortly. But first, we want to take a moment to thank our sponsors and our partners who are with us today. We cannot do the work of the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness without our sponsor support. We are very fortunate today to have UW Health, Madison Gas and Electric as key local sponsors. And in fact, they've sponsored our work and our organization for the entire decade that we've existed as a nonprofit organization. And we're really grateful for that, especially this year as we cross our anniversary year. We also have 2 new national sponsors for this work today, you all, because the work we're doing here in Wisconsin is making such an impact on women in our state, but also women beyond Wisconsin, many of whom are tuned in today. So we're grateful for the Roots and Wings Foundation, which is the foundation attached to Epic, our local electronic medical records giant here based in Wisconsin. And the Pearl Milling Company, a division of PepsiCo brand. So let's clap up our sponsors today and thank them for the opportunity to continue to create and host these spaces to pour into ourselves. We also want to acknowledge several incredible community partners who team up with us every year, not only to join and participate in this event, but to share the news of this event with their communities and their networks. We come together to really collectively make a big impact on addressing health issues of Black women in our community and beyond. And with us today as partners is the Madison Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Thank you, Deltas, for being in the house. And we're all wearing your color today. That is so exciting. And the Kappa Psi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I can see right in front of me, President Michelle Nichols on the screen. Let's clap up the AKAs today for being such incredible supporters, along with the Deltas of supporting Black women's health. And thank you all for always sharing the stage with the foundation and everything we do to move Black women ahead in our community. We also want to thank the African American Health Network of Dane County and President Eva Vivian. Not sure if Dr. Eva Vivian is with us today, but we acknowledge her work, her leadership, her tenacity. And I know that many of you on the call today know Dr. Vivian and that you represent the Health Network as well. Thank you to our partners. And now to Aaliyah Stevenson, our Chief Programs Officer, also a heart disease survivor, which maybe you'll ad-lib that story just a little bit as you share a few exciting announcements with us this morning. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you all for being here. This screen is beautiful. It's giving me joy. I was at a 10, I think I'm at an 11 now. Yes, this is a very special event for me. It's special for Lisa with her mother here, working alongside me every day. And it's special for me. 17 years ago in pregnancy, at age 26, my heart failed. And it really changed the way that I talk about and my work towards this. We're going to talk about just how prevalent it is in our community. I've asked a question in the chat, just how folks are impacted by heart disease. And it's very near and dear to many of us. So thankfully, I am a survivor. I'm here today in my Ashro, Blessed Queen shirt right now. Representing health and wellness and new life because I was able to survive and now to change things in my life and to thrive. So I didn't know my warning signs. I didn't know what was happening to my body. The doctors missed it. And we're going to have a great conversation around that today for so many of us here. My story is not, doesn't stand alone. It's part of our larger community story. Of missing preventable disease and illness and us having to recover and fight our way back. But we do have an exciting year at the foundation. It starts today with all of you here, but we are celebrating 10 years. Please follow us at our website. There's going to be so much energy and excitement in the work that we're doing across the state and across the nation. I just popped our website in the chat. We're going to be engaging women across Wisconsin and shaping our Black Women Deserve policy blueprint. We've already put out our preamble, but the work is just beginning because we know that we need to change the systems and policies that impact us, not just our individual stories and lives in order to really have a large impact on our community. I'll pop that in the chat as well. And then please join us. Wellness is not a day, it's not a celebration, it's a year-long activity. We have a very exciting online community where you can access all of our programming, and that's through Mighty Networks. And I'm gonna pop that in there. Please be part of our nutrition and fitness. Please be part of our money management. Please be part of all the things that help us be well. And most importantly, or most excitingly for me, the save the date now for Black Women's Wellness Day. It is a signature event, one you will not want to miss, one that brings women across the nation and beyond, experts, local and everywhere to really talk about and convene around Black women's health in all those ways. So save the date now, Friday and Saturday, September 24th and 25th. Mark your calendar. You do not want to miss this event. It is life-changing as well. And I just modeled our shirt from Ashro, so please visit our partners. But Lisa, who else is in here wearing the heart disease Well Black Woman shirt? Lisa is modeling the Well Black Woman for heart disease. Yes, April's got it on, Kalia, Nikki, beautiful shirt representing a Well Black woman, Janine as well, representing a Well Black woman with a specific focus on heart disease, as it is so important in our community. So I am going to pop that in the chat as well, so you can purchase that. And like I said earlier, there's so many beautiful people here wearing red, and that's important for us because we really want to give out prizes. We want to give out prizes for the folks with the best red outfit, the most engaged, the most live audience member. So bring that energy in the chat, bring that energy on the screen. And we're going to be giving out prizes to those three and many others at the end, which will be at the end of the day. So please stay present so you can win your prize. And as always, we're going to be really active in the chat. We want to hear from you. We're posing questions, and we will continue to pose questions throughout the day this morning. Thank you so much, Lisa. Back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaliyah, for those wonderful announcements. That's a lot of information to take in. We know you were taking notes. We know you're going to visit our website. We know you're going to get your Well Black Woman t-shirt in red and black. We know that you're going to join our online wellness community that we may have mentioned. Let's drop that in the chat as well. We have a new online wellness community where we can convene together on a network called Mighty Networks, where all of our fitness, nutrition, and wellness programming is centralized. And it really is a vibrant group that we're building. We'd love to see you there, especially those who've participated in our Project Live Well year-round wellness programming. We know you'll enjoy this new community that we're building with the goal of getting 10,000 women involved in that network over the next year as we celebrate our 10th anniversary. There are more updates we'll share with you. Aaliyah mentioned the 14th annual Black Women's Wellness Day coming up September 24th and 25th. I mistakenly, referred to it at the beginning of this event because it's top of mind. Most of you here, many of you here have attended each year. This year will be especially powerful as we integrate stories that we've collected of our impact over this last decade of leading in this space in all the ways we can to advance and really transform Black women's health in our state and beyond Wisconsin. So with that, let's move on with today's agenda and our very special guest, who I know you've been waiting to hear us introduce, Dr. Jasmine Zapata, Shantaquillette Carter-Williams, and Keena Atkinson, who will join us later. And I'll take just a moment to introduce them each. Right now, of course, their bios are illustrious and long, and so we're doing the abbreviated version of these powerful women. For this first hour, you will hear from Dr. Jasmine Zapata, pediatrician, author, speaker, mother, so many things. There's too many titles to list for you, Dr. Zapata. Dr. Zapata is a double board certified physician specializing in the field of preventative medicine and public health. She is a local health equity researcher and champion, might I add. You didn't have that in your bio, but I'm going to add, and health equity champion, a practicing clinician, pediatrician by training, and a state public health leader with significant influence, thankfully for us, in shaping our state's policies around health impacting all of our communities. Outside of the hospital, Dr. Zapata enjoys leading a national mentorship program aimed at increasing diversity in medicine. She travels, writing books, she plays volleyball, she exemplifies wellness in her practice as a woman and as a physician, and spending time with her family, her beautiful family. Her ultimate mission in life is to heal, uplift, and inspire. And we can bear witness that you do that in all of your endeavors. Dr. Zapata, thank you for being here today. We'd also like to introduce, yes, let's clap up Dr. Zapata. Yes, all of us here and those who don't know, our lives are heavily impacted by this wonderful physician who's an activist physician in so many ways. And we thank you for all your contributions to our community and ongoing. Shantaquillette Carter-Williams. I must say, I met Shantaquillette online. And I think Shantaquillette, I came across an article. I was searching for new speakers to engage around this topic, whose stories are really compelling and really demonstrate not only that we can recover, but that heart disease, as we said earlier, is not an older woman's disease. It is very much a younger woman's concern. And you exemplify that story, but in powerful ways. I believe it was Forbes magazine, honestly, where I came across your article. It came up in Google. So let's introduce Shanta Quillette. Shanta Quillette is mother, wife, entrepreneur, and a heart attack and stroke survivor whose experience and recovery have shaped her passion and purpose as a women's health advocate. First pushed into health advocacy by the deaths of her aunt and two close friends to breast cancer, Shanta Quillette was further driven to transform her health and that of other women when her own life was threatened by a heart attack in 2018, followed by a stroke in 2019 at the ages of 39 and 40. I want you to listen to that and let that sink in. As a result, Shanta Quillette is devoted to finding creative solutions to helping women like her, like all of us, prevent and overcome health threats, a commitment that accounts for the various businesses and organizations and endeavors that she has founded to grow her mission, including Girl Be Natural, Style Follows Her, and the Pink Peppermint Project, which addresses breast cancer education, among others. As she facilitates a community of healthy, empowered women, she uses her voice to advocate for women's health care, raise awareness on health threats like she's helping us do today, and to celebrate women's fight and our survival and our ability to be resilient. Shanta Quillette's work and service have earned her numerous awards and honors, and I can't even name them all. There's so many. And not only in her community of Dallas, Texas, where she's based, but her work has really begun to be recognized nationally. And Shanta Quillette, you were across so many websites telling your story. I just want to nod you for how active you have been. You've been like turned on, like we've all been, to use our personal experience as a light and a source of inspiration and life to other women. She has been featured in major publications and news media, and she's here to share her story with us today. Thank you for being here, Shanta Quillette. Let's clap it up. Yes, yes, Nikki, we are warriors. Our survivor game is fierce. Absolutely, and I just want to acknowledge also many of the chats that we saw you post earlier about how you've been personally impacted by heart disease in our families and our communities. We embrace that, we understand that, and here we are today to secure a healthier future for ourselves. So to kick off our questions, starting with you, Dr. Zapata, tell us a little about yourself and why being a part of today's Wear Red Day event is so important to you.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm a pediatrician and I'm also a public health doctor, and I will never, ever forget the first time that I saw an open heart surgery. I was young and in my training, so excited to get invited into the surgery and watch this procedure. I walked in, I was so nervous. I put on my gloves and I did everything they told me to go in the right position. I just didn't want to mess anything up or get in the way. I was just observing. And I'll never forget when I walked up to the patient and saw the chest opened up and the heart beating right in my face. It was a rush of excitement, but then it was a little bit of fear that came along too, knowing that this is a life-saving procedure and this patient might not even make it. The reason the patient was getting this open heart surgery was because this patient had had plaque in their arteries, supplying blood to the heart. And so there wasn't enough blood flow to the heart. And unless they had this life-saving surgery, the heart would fail and this individual was going to die. So this was a very, very serious procedure where they were going to take some blood vessels from the leg and transfer them to the heart to save this person's life. So as I stood there and I looked inside of the chest and I saw that heart beating, then the lead surgeon said, "Would you like to touch the heart?" So now my heart is racing. I put my hands inside and I'm able to hold this beating heart in my hands and actually look at this organ that supplies life right in my hands. And this individual's entire life was at the hands of these surgeons. It was very, very impactful. And so the individual made it through the procedure. I got to watch it. And then the next day, I got to visit the individual in their recovery room. And the patient was recovered well and had the biggest smile on their face. And I said, I was there at the procedure. I'm so glad to see that you're doing well. And it was so awesome to see that smile on that person's face. But then my heart sank because it reminded me that there are over 50,000 African-American women in the United States that die from heart disease every year and that do not survive. And that really, to the question of why am I here today or what is my background, that led me on a mission to fight for health equity, because this patient made it. And this was a white patient. And it just made me begin to think about all of the disparities and inequities that exist. And that is what led me on my path today. In addition to being a pediatrician, I am a preventive medicine and public health doctor. And so I look for ways that we can prevent some of the very conditions that are causing inequities in the first place. So that's just a little bit about why I'm here. I am so excited to see everyone's face here because we are going to change these statistics around, and I am just on fire and excited to be here. But that's a little bit about my backstory.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zapata. I'll make some comments about that after we hear from Shanta Collette, but what you described so vividly is something that is quite spectacular and so very important for us to understand the gravity of what you described and what you saw. Shanta Collette, tell us a little bit about yourself and why your being here today is so important to you.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Well, I think you explained a lot of it in my introduction, but I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a grandmother, entrepreneur, comedian, and a now thriver. And why it's so important to me is I believe when God takes you through something and you get through it, it's your God's purpose to be a testimony for others and prevent the things that happen to you to put that on others. And so they know your story and they know how to get through it. I was someone who actually went through the disparities of the healthcare system almost 8 years before I ultimately had a heart attack and stroke. And now I know the importance of advocating for myself. I know the importance of the cultural differences in the healthcare system and finding people who look like me. Also in the Black community, one thing we don't really discuss is our family history. You know, we talk about everything else, but we can't talk about, what's killing us. And so when I had my heart attack and stroke, I did not know that both of my parents had suffered from cardiovascular disease. It was just a discussion that we weren't having. And then I started having first cousins having strokes. And then it dawned onto me like, hey, this is something that we need to discuss. You know, we talk about generational wealth, but generational wealth is health. And so how can we prevent this from, generations to come? Talking to my children to make sure when they go to the doctor, they know that, yeah, your mom is a heart attack survivor. Your dad is a stroke survivor. I mean, your dad is has cardiovascular disease. Because when I was going to the doctor, let me tell you, I thought I had a clean bill of health. So when they said, does your mom tell us about your family history? Oh, my mom is good. She looking good on the outside. She's vibrant, but she was all tore up on the inside and I didn't know it. And so it was really important for me to know that. So just making sure that we spread the word to make sure that we get into communities and talk about the importance of heart health because it is taking our generation out.
Absolutely. Both of you made so many comments and I've been scribbling notes on the side of my paper. You said something just now, Shanta Collette, that my mama's looking good on the outside, but the inside is what we cannot see. Every Black woman that I know who has succumbed to heart disease or who has had a major episode like yourself today looks beautiful on the outside, youthful. We all know what we say, Black don't crack, and we hail that, and that's a blessing. But what's happening in the inside of our bodies is really more important because in our cases, as you've heard, and as Dr. Zapata will spell out in her presentation in just a bit. We are at greater risk. We know the causes of this. In our work every year, we're addressing health disparities. Chanticleer, you spoke about the cultural disconnects. Dr. Zapata works in this arena every day. We know how crucial it is to train and support women to be their best advocates, to force and push the questions you need your physician, your healthcare provider to answer. We've got to be diligent. And we know that personally, we've got to ask the tough questions about family history and not make it taboo or uncomfortable to talk about these issues in our families, because it really is life-saving. So let us know in the chat, are you talking about your family history today with your parents, with your granny, with your aunties and uncles, with your siblings? Do we know our risk profile? Are we doing what we can to go into our doctor's office equipped with the information that we need to get the best care? And if not, change doctors. Those are all the things that you're alluding to. So very important. Aaliyah, passing the next question to you.
Thank you. Yeah, there was a lot that was said there, and I just popped in. I learned too late as well, Chanticleer, but my children know, and they're going to continue to know. They've already had echoes of their heart as well. So Dr. Zapata, one of our intentions today is to illustrate to women, again, like myself, as a 20-year-old woman with my heart failing, that it's not, an old man's or old white man's, as we often see the face of heart disease, and that Black women are most impacted among all women and at younger ages, like myself. Why is that so important for us to understand?
It's so important for us to understand because prevention is key. If we are aware of that, even these are conversations that we can be having with our young girls, our preteen, teen girls. If we know that we can prevent heart disease, that's something that we can use to inspire us to eat healthy, to exercise, to have these conversations with our healthcare providers, even at young ages. And even for those who already have heart disease, it's important to know that there are ways that you can still thrive, you can overcome this and still live a healthy, long, prosperous life, because that's what we deserve. So it's really important to point this out so we can have an intergenerational conversation.
So important. And then Chanticleer, from your personal experience, what are your thoughts on young Black women in particular, knowing their risks?
Oh, it's really important because we look at heart disease as an old person's disease, and that's something I looked at it before. I never thought in a lifetime that I would be having a heart attack and stroke. So it is really important that we put ourselves first. As much as we do in our hair and our beauty, we also have to do that when it comes to our overall health. So it is so important. I talk to friends every day that they will call me as if I'm a doctor, and I'm like, no, go to the doctor. I can't tell you what's wrong with you, but if if your chest is hurting, don't self-diagnose yourself. A lot of times we're scared to go to the doctor because we don't want to hear what may be the underlying cause, but it is good to know the underlying cause because it will save your life. And so I always tell people, and this is, it gets kind of morbid, but I say, hey, it's better to go to the doctor and be admitted and being taken care of than staying home and being put in the casket, because only one of you can come out of. So it's really important that you take care of yourself, young women. I had a friend pass away this year or last year, and she was 28 years old, and she had been battling heart disease. So it's not it's a everybody's disease. It's not just one demographic, one age. Anyone can be impacted. So it is important that you go to the doctor, and if you know people in in your life who've had heart attacks, then that kind of puts you at risk. Because my mom was like, when I was sitting with my heart attack, she's like, grandmother's, she had three brothers that died of massive heart attacks. And I was like, well, that would have been some real valuable information, to me, because I've been telling the doctors that I'm okay. So yeah, it's important, young people, to really take care of yourself, know the symptoms of a heart attack and stroke. That's most importantly, I had my symptoms a whole week and a half out before I had my heart attack. So my body was already letting me know. And one of the biggest questions the cardiovascular doctor asked me while I laid in the bed is, why did you wait so long to come to the hospital? Immediately when you started having symptoms that you hadn't recognized before, which it was a part of the disparities and things of doctors just sending me away. I'm like, well, I've been to the emergency room 3 times this year and y'all have sent me home. So what was it? Why was it important for me to come today? But me making that decision and my husband saying, hey, you need to go ahead and go to the doctor, it saved my life.
Oh, absolutely. You said a couple things, Chantaquillette, that we want to underscore. One, you got up, after a week and you went to the doctor. Don't self-diagnose, you said earlier. Don't try to figure it out. We all know when our body is doing something that it shouldn't be doing or that stands out from what we usually feel. And it is so easy in the course of our busy lives and all of our daily responsibilities to just shrug it off as I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm running. But we know when something really is off. Don't wait. I say that as someone who witnessed on a Friday a woman who looked as beautiful, women, not even one woman, women who looked as beautiful, alive, and vibrant as we do on this call today, as I shampooed her hair in my mother's hair salon, to get a call the following week on Monday to the shop to give my mother the message that those women were dead and gone from a stroke or a heart attack over the weekend. This is real stuff. These are true stories. In many cases, these women waited. They waited because they were busy. They waited because they had 2 jobs. They had children to take care of. They were running. They were caregivers. They were taking care of everyone else, and they delayed. They would whisper about it in my mother's ear. Girl, I haven't been feeling well. My head has been hurting me for like 2 weeks. I've been taking these BCs and these Tylenols, but I got to do the 3rd shift tonight. And the question is always there, what could have been if that trip was made to the doctor? And sometimes it's complex. Sometimes folks don't have adequate health insurance. Sometimes they don't have enough paid time off, which is another layer of issues that we know Dr. Zapata addresses at the macro level of systems. But we have to make those decisions about what is required to save our lives when our bodies are telling us to pause and to take another step, to look into ourselves, and not to be scared to find out. We'll address that later. Dr. Zapata, why are Black women disproportionately impacted by heart disease? What are the genetic, environmental, or social factors that make us more susceptible? And you can summarize, because we know we're about to jump into your PowerPoint presentation where you will break it all down for us, but could you summarize for us, why is this impacting us in such a deep and disproportionate way?
This is a great question. And the conversation this entire morning has really hit on some of those things. It's multifactorial. So there's genetic components where American descendants of slaves, particularly African Americans, there's some genetic influences that play a role that make. There's research that looks into, there's some genetic predispositions that make us more sensitive to salt, for example. So that can impact our blood pressure, making it easier for us to have higher blood pressure. But it's not just that alone. Don't let anybody just say it's just the genetic part of it, because there are a lot of social and environmental factors that play a role as well. Systemic racism, structural racism being one of them. And we talked a lot about stress as well. Just as you mentioned, there's so much burden to work, carry the load of your family and your community on your shoulders, where you're worried about other people, but can't even find the time to take care of yourself. And it's not just a personal choice, it's because of the environment and the systems that we're living in. So when we say what things contribute, yes, there's some genetic component as what to it, but when we look at our racial wealth gap, that is contributing to it. When we're looking at housing inequities and disparities, that's contributing to it. When we look at disparities and inequities and even high school graduation rates, that's contributing to it. So it's multifactorial. But we cannot let that get us discouraged, because in spite of all of those barriers and things going against us, guess what? We have the power to make a change. And that's why we're here today.
Absolutely. And we know that it is imperative that we make this change. Dr. Zapata, you spoke to something that we name, Aaliyah and I, as we're out on the speaking circuit across the state, educating and driving folks to understand these issues. We talk about the toxic stress cycle that Black women endure by virtue of being Black in America, and all of the issues that we carry based on our racialized history and therefore our racialized experience. I heard you and other physicians talk about allostatic load, meaning the impact physically of our experiences from the point of preconception and birth of each of us individually, and our experiences from that point to where we are now, in my case, a 49-year-old woman, and how those experiences, especially in the racialized context, impact our health down to the cellular level, so that the internal aging of Black women is moving faster than the internal aging of other women. And this is why we're seeing these disparities. It's not just what we're eating that matters. It's not how much we're exercising alone that matters. It's not just our habits or things we need to stop doing that matters. But what really is mattering more are these conditions that we are enduring in our daily lives, regardless of our income or education level. I alluded earlier to a mom who, working third shift, but it can happen to the PhD sister who's about to go in and make a presentation to the provost about a grant. It can happen to the CEO who is doing a meeting with her team for a multi-state organization, just as well as this can impact your mother who is under-resourced in one of our high-need communities. It does not discriminate. We have to talk about the stress factor and how we create wellness-centered lives in the midst of all of these encroaching elements that are impacting us. So let's pick up on the chat right now, Leah. What are we hearing? I see so much feedback happening in the chat.
We have so much going on, and I just want to again just shout out people from Atlanta, Tennessee, across Wisconsin, just wherever you're situating. Some of us joining us for the first time. Thank you being so active and just jumping in the chat with us. Folks are talking about their personal experience. People are really responding to the young age, Shanta Collette, of your friend who passed. People are talking about, who's talking about, who's not talking about it in their families. We don't talk about it as often as we should. And when we do talk about it, it's after our own hearts have failed. We talked about how it's been missed. Even those of us who have advocated, who have seen the symptoms, who have went in, I shared myself, I went in and they're just like, oh, you're just an anxious mom, as I was dying, right? Physically, my heart was failing. And how we have to, continue like Shanta Collette will share in her story, to continue to advocate for ourselves. So folks are just really resonating with the conversation on a personal level, and really actively engaging in the learning about what is it we need to do and how do we impact the stress on our bodies.
Absolutely. And as we give Dr. Zapata the opportunity to bring up her slides, as she gives us a brief education on the facts, tell us in the chat, what can we do to spur these conversations at a deeper level in our families? How can you take this information that you're hearing today and take it back to the dinner table, to the meeting, to the girls' night out, to all the settings with the people that we love most, to spark these conversations about our health history and the factors contributing, and to push each other to listen to our bodies? What can you do? What are you doing? What's working for you? How will you go forward with that today? How will we break the silence around talking about our health and taking action together? We know that when we change, we influence our entire family system. So let us hear about that. And now, Dr. Zapata, we will turn it over to you to share some knowledge with us today.
Thank you so much. So this is just briefly for us to talk about some of the statistics and facts, and then talk about some tangible strategies of how we can prevent and overcome heart disease. And this is really just a heart-to-heart talk. It is not meant to be something so big and complicated. I really just want to have a heart-to-heart talk about this so that we can leave here with tangible strategies and action steps for how we can collectively join together to prevent and overcome heart disease. And also it will lead us into some of the rest of the discussion that we will have this morning. So the goals here, just briefly, because you notice Lisa put in that her brief description. So I'm gonna keep it moving. But we're gonna just talk about 5 racial inequities in heart disease. It's so important for us to know the facts, but guess what? I do not like dwelling on facts. A lot of our public health and traditional medical system, you just hear fact after depressing fact after fact about the statistics about Black women, but guess what? Black women are thriving. Black women are beautiful. Black women are healthy and well. So we're gonna focus on that. I'm gonna talk about the facts just briefly, but then we're gonna really focus on 5 steps toward preventing and overcoming heart disease. And if you're ready for this, put "I'm ready" in the chat so I can know that you are ready to take action. You're ready to hear the information and then take action. I need to hear at least 5 people say "I'm ready" so we can get going. Also, throughout my presentation, I am going to be showing pictures of thriving and well Black women. Many of them you may recognize, because when we talk about this, people put us often in a negative light or like it's a problem, but guess what? We are thriving and we are well. Also, I miss y'all. I'm gonna just say it. I miss y'all so much. I miss the Wear Red days where we're all together. There's music, we're hugging, there's vendors. And so throughout the presentation, I have compiled some of my favorite memories from when we're all together. Some people call me the selfie queen. I'm sharing some of my selfies and pictures in the spirit of unity, because we're all in this together. And I really miss you guys. So this is just my way to reminisce. So first, in the chat, we're going to do a little quiz. Don't worry, you're not getting graded, but let's see if some of you all were listening for this one. Cardiovascular diseases kill nearly how many African-American women annually? So put a number. Okay, Alexis, okay. Someone said 500,000, not that quite, but yes, 50K. Somebody said 55K, like money. I wish I had that money, but okay, that's what I'm hearing, 50K. Good job. Cardiovascular diseases kill nearly 50,000 African-American women annually. And guess what? 1 is too many. There's lives, there's people impacted, there's stories behind all of these statistics. And 1 is too many, and 50,000 is definitely way too many. All right, here's the next question. Of African-American women ages 20 and older, what % have heart disease? Of African-American women ages 20 and older, what % have heart disease? Someone said 25%, 30%. Let's see if we have any other guesses. 30%. Okay, of African-American women ages 20 and older, what % have heart disease? 49%. That's pretty high. That was higher than my guess. Of African-American women ages 20 and older. And I'm guessing most of us in this virtual space to here are 20 and older, most of us. So statistically, almost 50% have heart disease. Okay. Now, again, when we say statistics, we're not saying this to invoke fear. We, as a powerful collective of Black women, are going to take these statistics so that we can advocate for change, so that we can advocate at our healthcare providers. We're going to use these statistics as fuel for positive change. Okay, so when we're looking at these statistics, again, don't let it invoke fear, but let it invoke action. Next question: only 1 in how many African-American women believe she's personally at risk? Only 1 in how many? What are your guesses? 10, only 1 in 10 African-American women believe she's personally at risk. Somebody said 5, 20. Here's some guesses. Okay. Only 1 in 5 African-American women believe she's personally at risk. So we just said that of women age, African-American women, 20 years old and older, almost half of them have heart disease, but only 1 in 5 even believe she's personally at risk. That's why we do this. That's why the work of the foundation is so important. That's why Wear Red Day is so important. That's why we fight. That's why we wrote the preamble talking about what Black women deserve, because this is a life or death situation. All right. And only what percent of African-American women know that heart disease is their greatest health risk? Only 36% of African-American women know that heart disease is their greatest health risk. And guess what? Heart disease is #1 cause of death among African-American women. #1. So COVID is out there. Yes, we need to protect ourselves from COVID. Yes, there's other things that go on. There's cancer, there's homicides that go on. There's other causes of death. Yes, those are real. But as Black women, our #1 risk of death, according to statistics and likelihood, the #1 reason that we are going to die is going to be related to heart disease. It is the #1 cause of death. Again, not to scare us, but to be armed with that knowledge so that we can make our priorities and say every single day when we wake up in the morning, what can I be doing for my heart health? Everybody's going to die. Everybody's going to die, but we want to live long, productive, quality, and thriving lives. So if we know that heart disease is our #1 risk, it's the #1 cause of death, what can we be doing to prolong our lives and to prevent and overcome it? And last question for our quiz, only what percent of African-American women are aware of the signs and symptoms of a heart attack? We've been talking a little bit about that earlier, but only what percentage of African-American? You guys are doing good in the chat. And y'all know there's a prize at the end for the most active in the chat. So you guys better get to typing because they're watching and they be giving out prizes. Okay, only what percentage of African-American women are aware of the signs and symptoms of a heart attack? Only 52% of African-American women are aware of the signs and symptoms. But let's crush that statistic. That is not going to be the statistic up in this room right here. All these beautiful Black women in this room, statistically, only 52% of African-American women. But guess what? At the end of my conversation, 100% of African-American in this space, in the Foundation of Black Women's Wellness that Wear Red Day, are going to know. So let's put in the chat, not today, not today. We are not having this statistic. We're about to crush this statistic, okay? All right, so only 52% of African-American women are aware of the signs and symptoms of a heart attack, but we're about to change that because we take action. We do not just look at statistics and be like, oh, that sucks, that's sad, I'm scared. Here's the statistic, let's change it right now, okay? So we're about to quickly learn the signs and symptoms of a heart attack. And we also have a survivor here that after our conversation, we're going to talk about it a little bit more. 100% of us at the end of this conversation are going to know the signs and symptoms of a heart attack because we're going to crush that statistic. So what is a heart attack? A heart attack occurs when a part of the heart muscle is damaged or dies because blood flow is reduced or completely blocked. So your heart is so important because it pumps blood to your lungs so that when you breathe in, everybody breathe in right now, take a deep breath, breathe in. When you breathe in oxygen, it goes into your lungs, okay? And then your lungs send it to your heart. Okay, so your heart pumps blood up to your heart pumps blood up to your lungs, and then the lungs give it oxygen. Then it comes back to the heart, and then your heart pumps this oxygen-rich blood to your entire body so your body can function. Your heart is so important. But in order for the heart to stay alive, it needs its own blood supply. So if you look at these arteries here, the heart has to supply itself. It pumps blood to the rest of the body, but it also gives blood to itself to keep itself alive. And a heart attack is when these important blood vessels that keep the heart itself alive, when they get filled with plaque. Here's some pictures of plaque. When they get filled up with plaque, it can completely block the flow. So then if that blood flow is completely blocked, your heart, areas of your heart can die off, and then it won't be able to pump blood to the rest of your body, okay? So that is what a heart attack is. This is, if we were in person at Wear Red Day, I would be right here with my daughter. We always bring body organs, people who've donated their body to science. We always come with hearts. So I would actually be showing you these things, but that's a picture of one of the past Wear Red Days. So what are some of the signs and symptoms of a heart attack? It can be very different. So these are just in general, it could be different for everyone, but I'm going to just point out some of them. If you have chest pain or discomfort, you can have nausea and feel lightheaded or unusually tired. Okay. So when Lisa was pointing out, there are some people who feel lightheaded or tired. They might not have any chest pain or discomfort, but it's really, really important to pay attention to that. You can have pain or discomfort in your jaw, neck, or back. You can have pain or discomfort in your arm or your shoulder, and then you can have shortness of breath. And here's the thing, not all of those things will take place, but those are some of the things that can take place. And notice for men, it's more typical for them to have chest pain, shortness of breath, and then pain in their neck or arm. But women present differently. Sometimes it might just be nausea or headache. It might be a little chest pain. It could be different. But those are some of the signs and symptoms of a heart attack. So everybody in the chat, at least write one. Just write one so I can know that you are listening. I mean, write one symptom, not the number one, sorry. Fatigue, chest pain, nausea, awesome, awesome, awesome. So everybody now knows the signs and symptoms of a heart attack. But as I close, we're gonna just briefly talk about prevention, okay? Cardiovascular diseases and stroke cause 1 in 3 women's death each year, killing approximately 1 woman every 80 seconds. An estimated 44 million women in the US are affected by heart disease. 90% of women have 1 or more risk factors. Women have higher lifetime risk of stroke than men, and 80% of heart disease and strokes may be prevented by lifestyle changes in education. We're going to get into this a little bit more in our conversations, but I'm going to just leave you again with some prevention steps. When I say prevention, even if you are someone who already has been diagnosed with heart disease, I don't want you to give up. I want you to stay encouraged. When we talk about prevention, we're talking about preventing getting heart disease in the first place, but also preventing the worsening of your heart disease or complications from your heart disease. So this applies to everyone in the chat. Some risk factors can be high blood pressure, high LDL cholesterol levels, smoking. Those are key risk factors. There's other conditions that put you at higher risk: diabetes, being overweight, poor diet, physical inactivity, excessive alcohol use. These are risk factors. And again, we're not going to look at these and be discouraged or get us scared. We're going to look at these so that we can be armed with knowledge and we can attack these things and we can make some lifestyle changes. Okay. So here are a few steps, and I'll just leave you with these five steps. And I hope you have your pen to write them down. They're very simple things that you could do starting today. Number 1, eating a healthy diet with fruits, vegetables, whole grains, fat-free, low-fat milk, choosing foods that are low in saturated fats, cholesterol, salts, and low in added sugars, okay? This is a picture of somebody eating a cheeseburger, and it says no. I will admit, Dr. Jazz loves cheeseburgers. I love me some McDonald's double cheeseburgers. I'm going to just announce it. Yes, Dr. Jazz is a preventive medicine doctor. I'm healthy, but I love double cheeseburgers. And I know that when I'm stressed out, and I don't want to cook. I'm stressed. It's been a long day. Life is crashing down. I'm going to McDonald's and I'm going to get a double cheeseburger. I might get two. Oh Lord, I'm sorry, Lisa. I just had to say it. I'm just being real and transparent. But you, you cannot do that. You know, yes, everything in moderation, but eating a healthy diet, you can lose weight. You can improve your blood pressure just by changing your diet. So we'll get into that a little bit more. I'm not going to go in detail, but that's why it's important to tap in to the all of the wellness activities and initiatives that the foundation is doing. There's nutrition classes. You can get support networks, but just your diet alone, if you change it, can be tremendous. Even sugary drinks. I stopped drinking sodas and sugary drinks. And then I'm very competitive. So this is one of my water bottles where it tells me throughout the day how far I need to get in my drinking. So eating a healthy diet can reduce your risk. Exercising regularly. Adults need 2 hours and 30 minutes of exercise each week. Okay. It's a great stress reliever, and it can positively, it is one of the number one ways to improve your heart health. Or even if you do already have heart disease, it can prolong your life and help reverse some of the issues. Here's another secret. Dr. Jazz, I hate working out. You know, when you wake up every morning and you see people just up at 6 a.m, just jogging, I look at them and I'm like, so jealous. I cannot do that. If I try to start jogging by myself or, you know, doing a workout by myself, after 2 minutes, I'm like, whew, I'm tired. I quit. This is too much. But what I have learned about myself is that I have to do competitive sports or I need to be with other people. So I just made that part of my life. Here's a picture of me doing kickball on a softball team. I do recreational volleyball. I'm here at the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness workouts. There's Kina, who you guys are going to meet. That is so important. You got to create a support system. And I had to just recognize, Jasmine, you never can work out by yourself. You suck at that. So I incorporate every single week. I'm at 3 times a week. I'm at volleyball. I'm doing a sport or something like that. Just 2 more and then we're done. Being smoke-free and limiting alcohol use is important. If you're ready to quit smoking, there's a 1-800-QUIT-NOW number. You can get free resources. And also limit alcohol use, because that can lead to some long-term health problems as well. If you do drink in moderation, but just make sure that you know that smoking and alcohol use, especially when in excess, is a direct contributor. And that's something that you can take action on right now. Sometimes we can't control our genes. We can't control racism in society, but these things we're talking about today are small things that you can change. Number 4, this is so important. Regular visits with your healthcare providers. Here's just some awesome Black doctors that I want to shout out. There's so many others, but these were just a few of my mentors and people in my life. Look at us. We're so cute. You know, you want to come visit us at the doctor. But it's so important. Now, here's a question I want you to quick ask yourself. You don't have to put it in the chat. Ask yourself in your heart right now, when is the last time that you went in for your annual physical? Okay. You don't have to put it in the chat if you don't want to, but ask yourself, when is the last time, or when is the last time you went to see your doctor? If you're supposed to be coming in more often than once a year, when's the last time that you went in? And thank you for the people who, I knew the people in the chat is going to be the ones who recently did it, but there's some people in here that haven't been seen in 2-3 years for the pandemic. Let me tell you, I'm being transparent. The truth, me, Dr. Jazz, I just got my physical this past week. I had not been there since 2019. I'm going to be transparent and honest because I'm so busy. I'm like, I'm healthy, I'm okay. I was just so busy trying to survive this pandemic. I had not been in since before the pandemic, and I just went last week. So even me, Dr. Jazz, I'm a public health doctor. I hadn't been in. That's why I'm asking you guys just to ask yourself, when's the last time you've been in? And before, well, you can't call today because it's a Saturday, but on Monday, I want everybody in here to call and schedule. Just make sure your next appointment is on the books. Okay. All right. So when you do go to the doctor, just know your family history. There might be risk factors that make you at higher risk. Ask about your cholesterol and blood pressure. Those are two specific things I want you to ask your healthcare provider about. What are my cholesterol levels? Can I get those checked? And what is my blood pressure? What are ways I can keep it down? As a Black woman, I know that I'm at higher risk. So what are some things that we can do specifically for me for heart health and prevention? Ask that specific question. And when they tell you to do stuff, be compliant with it. If you do not have a good relationship with your healthcare provider or someone that you don't trust, shop around. I mean, get with somebody you feel good with. Don't let the fact that you distrust the healthcare system, because that's what we see a lot with Black women. There's been a lot of historical harm and trauma with trusting the healthcare system. Do not let that distrust of the medical system cost you your life because you never want to go in. Okay. I am sorry for the harms that the healthcare system has caused, and they're real. And I acknowledge that, but don't let that be a reason that you don't get in and get seen. Okay. We are going to overcome it. And if you need recommendations for doctors and stuff, you can reach out to Lisa, and we're always helping people get connected with somebody that they want. And my final point, we've been talking about a lot of different things: eating healthy, exercising, limiting alcohol and smoking, seeing your doctor. The last one is to believe in yourself and love yourself. Everybody put in a chat as I wrap up, I love myself. Put that in the chat. I love myself. That's one of the biggest things that I want to leave with us, that I have on my heart to tell you, of a way that we could prevent heart disease. We have to believe in ourselves that we can do this, even if it's hard, even if the statistics are scary. And we have to love ourselves, okay? Be gentle with yourself. Exercise because you love yourself. You care about yourself. Take time for stress relief because you love yourself. Schedule that appointment with your doctor because you love yourself. Never give up. Even if you fall down like me, when I have a slip up and I go to McDonald's and I get them 2 double cheeseburgers, you know what? I feel bad a little bit, but I'm going to get up and I'm going to eat a salad the next day. I'm going to get right back up. Never give up, even if you fall down on this journey, even if you get a diagnosis of diabetes, high blood pressure. I don't want you to give up. Stay vigilant. Create support networks. Okay. Look, there's a picture here with some fabulous women in our community. And one of them is Myra McNair, who leads Anesis. Let me tell you something from my heart as I wrap up. And this is very important. A lot of the reasons that people have unhealthy behaviors is because of untreated trauma from childhood or traumas in our lives. A lot of times when we talk about this issue, we talk on the surface about eat healthy, exercise right, but let's dig deeper. Why did you start smoking cigarettes in the first place? Mm-hmm. Why are you so depressed where you can't get up and exercise? Mm-hmm. Why? What is the root cause to that? And a lot of it stems in stress, mental health, untreated things. There's studies that show that children who have experienced traumas have higher risk factors for heart disease later in life because they pick up unhealthy habits or things, and it also impacts our bodies. So Myra McNair has a therapy center, and I'm not afraid to say it. I go to therapy. I have a therapist that I go to every single week. And guess what? And I started going regularly when the pandemic started, to focus on my mental health, to heal from some past traumatic situations that I had been through. Guess what? Ever since I started doing that, it allowed me to now be the healthiest I've been in my life, lose that weight, be able to eat right, lose some of my bad habits. So when you have a support system and network, it's important. So you have to believe in yourself and love yourself enough to even ask, what are some of the root causes to why I'm not able to live the optimal, healthy life that I am? And sometimes that includes going back into your childhood, into your past, or any mental health issues, and treating that. Self-care matters. And finally, remembering your why. Here's a picture of some people say, Dr. Jazz, where do you get all your energy? I get it from my mama. There's a picture of my mom and my daughter, who are amazing support systems in my life. But on my dad's side, my grandmother is a blessing. She's still living. And when people say, where do I get all my energy from? I get it from my grandma, she told me I can't say her exact age, but she's 90 plus and fierce and fabulous, still walking around, going shopping. She is a firecracker. And I love her so much. This was us just a couple months ago. And here's a picture of my little 4-year-old talking to her and them bonding. Why do we want to prolong our lives? Because, and I ask myself this when I don't want to work out, I want to be here to see my children. I want to be here to see my grandchildren, my great grandchildren. I have a powerful impact I'm going to make in this world. And all of you who are listening to this conversation do. You have purpose, you have destiny, you have lives to change. We have systems to dismantle. We have so many powerful things that we are destined and put on this earth to do. So if anything, when you are thinking about getting up every day, exercising, fighting for health equity, remember your why. So that's it. My key takeaways are just remember, heart disease is our #1 threat to Black women. We need to increase our knowledge. We need to take action, and remember, prevention is key. Also, survivors can thrive, and we choose life, and Black women deserve life. That's the last thing I want you to put in the chat. Say, I deserve life. And I'm done.
Ooh, all right now, Dr. Zapata, let's clap up that incredible presentation. I have so many notes that I have scribbled down, but we're going to save them for the end. We know that you all are just brewing with questions. We love the questions you've been asking. We love how engaged you are. We know that you are taking this in. Aaliyah has been capturing all those questions, and we're going to put those forward in just a little bit after we take everything that we heard Dr. Zapata share. Dr. Zapata, that was fantastic, informative, alarming, but also encouraging ultimately. And we hope that you all have scribbled some things down on your pad and making some decisions as you're actively listening. I'm looking at my friend Tam on the screen in front of me and just knowing so many of the stories. Tam was a previous survivor presenter at Wear Red Day a few years ago, and just so happy to see you in the space, Tam, and so many other women who are thrivers beyond. Yes, so thinking about everything that Dr. Zapata has shared, Shanta Collette, as a survivor and now a thriver who's been impacted by all the things that Dr. Zapata has shared. Help us break this down on a personal level. Tell us about your health crisis, how it began, what happened, the warning signs. You spoke to it a little bit earlier, but how did that unfold?
Yeah, so I could definitely tell you it pulls you up by the lapels to end with. But to begin with, I was a healthy, very healthy, what I thought healthy because I exercised, ate right, did everything that I was supposed to do to keep myself in position for life, a long life, right? So exercising, running, eating right. So I was just one day running on the treadmill. I worked out about seven days a week. So I was running on a treadmill one day and I started to feel something flutter in my chest. And so I stopped and was like, that's kind of unusual. I've never had that happen before. Started running again, started happening again. So I completely kind of just stopped off the treadmill, went home, told my husband about it, called my, at that time I was seeing a nurse practitioner who was under my OBGYN, contacted her, let her know what had happened. She immediately sent me over to the heart place. And I went over to the heart place and they did a stress test, told them what had happened, told them I hadn't had that happen before. And they diagnosed me with what they called exercise-induced arrhythmia. Said it was, nothing I should worry about. Just make sure that I monitor my heart when exercising. Sometimes that could, the elevated heart rate could cause those palpitations, right? But it was nothing big going on. So I took my doctor's word for it. Next few years exercising, trying to, not exercising as much because the fluttering made me nervous. So wasn't put on any medication, didn't have a heart cath, anything like that. Just stress, no echocardiogram, just the stress test. So during these next, 5-6 years, I'm in and out of the hospital, going to the emergency room, going to the doctor saying my chest is hurting. I'm having headaches and things like that. They do EKGs, everything looks good, indigestion, you work too hard, you do work for the IRS. I was an IRS, a retired IRS agent. So they're like, it's the stress of the job. So I was like, yeah, I do work a pretty, high impact job. So that could be what is going on. So fast forward to 2018, seemed like I was having a little bit more chest pains and abnormalities than I had had over the past 8 years. So I was going back to my doctor, letting him know, and they're like, hey, there's really nothing going on. We can do another stress test, but there's, it's all in your head. You're stressed out. Okay. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm stressed out. So that's the thing, let me work on, my job accommodating me to make my job a little bit more easier so I don't get stressed. Let's lower the casework. I was doing all that, but it still seemed like it wasn't subsiding the symptoms that I was having. So I'm like, okay. So I went to the doctor, I believe, maybe 3 weeks before I started having my symptoms that led to my heart attack. Had a complete checkup. Everything was well, A plus. So I started feeling tired. Like a week out, I just started feeling like, I was like, I have never felt this exhausted before. Like, why am I so tired? What we say, my husband was like, you don't get no sleep at night. You need to go to sleep. You stay up too late. And I was like, yeah, well, that's probably what it is. I haven't been getting a lot of rest here these past few weeks. Then I started feeling kind of nauseated. I started feeling, like I was coming down with the flu. That's what I described. It felt like I was coming down with the flu. I'd have a little chest pain here and there. I remember a lot of shoulder pain, but not on the left side where they tell you, it was all on the right side. So I was getting shoulder pain in the right side. I was getting pain in my neck. Thought I might have a pinched nerve. I was saying all this stuff that I thought was going on. So the Monday before I had my heart attack, I went into work and I had a really bad headache. I was feeling dizzy, and I told my coworker, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and go home. And I'm going to work from home because I think I'm coming down with the flu. I don't want to get anybody sick in the office. And went home. Tuesday, woke up, decided that I was kind of feeling kind of bad. I said I wasn't going to go into the office. I would stay home. My husband was there with me for the most of the day. My daughter was home from college. And I decided to go into the office and do some work later that day, right before my husband was going to work. And so my husband said, are you sure you don't want to go to the doctor? And I'm like, oh no, I'll go if I start feeling worse, I'll go to the doctor. And he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and go in to work, And so he went into work. And I was talking to a girlfriend, and he texted me and he said, are you feeling okay? And I said, yeah, I still kind of feel the same. I'm get ready and go lay down. After I get off this phone, I'll go lay down. I'll call you later. He immediately, because he's a one-man show at the job that he works, so he had to be in. So he called my daughter upstairs. She was in her room, and he said, hey, I need you to put your clothes on. I need you to take your mom to the hospital. I didn't know that they had this conversation. So my daughter didn't know that I didn't know I was going to the hospital. So she came in the office, and immediately she said, Mom, are you ready to go? And at that moment, I felt this sharp pain go down my jaw on the left side, down my neck, down my left arm. And so my daughter looked, she could see my face express. She said, what's wrong? I said, I was like, I ain't never had no pain like that before. That kind of sounds unusual. I said, yeah, let's go ahead and go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital, which is about an 8-minute drive from me. Immediately walked into the hospital doors, the emergency room doors, and started vomiting. So I started vomiting, started feeling nauseated. So they got me back, did an EKG, and was like, I don't, everything looks good. We don't see anything, there's a little, we see a little fluttering, but there's nothing that should alarm you. Right. And so I'm like, okay, there's nothing wrong. I'm sick or whatever, probably the flu. Well, the nurse triage was sitting across from where they sit, because after they do the EKG, they sit you out back in the waiting room if they can't get your room. So they sent me back in the waiting room, and I started to feel like, it felt like somebody was stepping on my chest. Like I was down and somebody was stepping on my chest. So I was saying that to my daughter. My daughter said, what's wrong? I said, I feel like somebody's stepping on my chest. I've never felt like this before. luckily the nurse, she said, by the time I said that, she was in my face, and she said, what did you say? And I said, it feels like something's pressing on my chest. So she's like, let's go ahead and get you back and get you in a room. So they got me a room immediately. um I remember my heart rate started fluctuating. I remember it got all the way to like 165, just shot up. And so they had given me some medication right before that. So my daughter started screaming and hollering, why is my mom's heart rate just going up or whatever. So she came back, it seemed like what was forever. They came back and said, by the time they came in there, it went back down. They said, oh, we just gave you some medication. It's probably the medication that we gave you. I was sitting there, doctor had came in and examined me. About, I want to say maybe about 10 minutes later, that same doctor came back, but there was another doctor with him. And I noticed that on his shirt, it said, cardiovascular, and it may have been a little bit longer, but I noticed it had cardiovascular on him. And he was just sitting back and he was very quiet. And the doctor who had first examined me, his demeanor had changed. He wasn't like, he wasn't very engaging in conversation. He was just, listening and looking. And then he started asking me questions, and had this happened before, and how frequent it had happened before. And then, now, when did you have these symptoms? Now, tell me, describe, so I was telling him, he said, Miss Carter Williams, what took you so long to come to the hospital? And that's when he asked me that question. I told him, I said, well, I come here all the time. You always send me home. So I didn't think it was necessary. And he said, well, I tell you this, I'm so glad that you did, because I don't think, had you gone to sleep like you said you were going to sleep, you probably wouldn't have saw it. You probably wouldn't have saw it next day. We can see that you are in the first stages of a heart attack. By that time, it was nurses everywhere. They started giving me beta blockers, and I was admitted into the hospital. So I was in the hospital for about 5 days. They did everything but gave me a heart cath. I do remember that, because I never knew what a heart cath was until I actually had one. So they did everything but give me a heart cath. Basically related to, I was under another cardiologist, who was not a very nice cardiologist, but basically said that kind of, same thing, you're stressed out, you need to change, what you're doing. You work, because everybody hears IRS and always relates it to, that job is, you need to get out of that position, it's stressing you out. So I was like, well, I don't want to quit my job. I've been working here for a long time. First thing, yeah, you need to quit your job. Don't you want to live? But in my mind, it was like, I don't want to quit my job. So they told me what I needed to do. Fast forward, my job made all the accommodations. One side, they found I had a heart attack. They made all the accommodations for me, but that didn't seem like the symptoms were going away. So November of that same year, 2018, I was laying in a bed and I just started feeling dizzy, and it just felt like somebody was hitting me in the head. I'm like, I woke up crying, telling my husband took me to the hospital. They said, did CAT scan, said I was having a cluster headache, right? Never heard of that. Here's a cluster headache. Fast forward, gets to February, go back into the ER again. There was one doctor that was looking at over all my symptoms, all my records, because I was always going to the same emergency room and the same doctor. My cardiovascular doctor was also in that same hospital. So the doctor, I was there with my mother, and my mom was like, this is one of the best doctors I've ever seen. He said, I am very concerned. He said, we can't keep you here, but I see the symptoms, I see things, and it's very concerning to me. And he says there's a lot of things that go on that we can't see. So at that point, he said, I have a good friend who is a cardiovascular doctor. He's very hard to see, but I can make the call, make appointment. So I made an appointment. First appointment I went in, was a couple of days. Immediately he listened to me. He said, you have a heart murmur. Anybody ever told you had a heart murmur? I was like, well, no. He's like, well, I can hear a murmur. So I'm like, okay, well, I went to 2 cardiologists and then nobody told me I had a heart murmur. So he said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to have a heart cath scheduled. And they had did it for like 3 or 4 weeks out, right? Well, before that, I was at work and started having some chest pains at work. So ambulance had to be called at work, got admitted, had my heart cath there. At that time, they didn't find any blockage or anything like that, other than what they called a mild tricuspid regurgitation and a mild myocardial bridge, um, which I find is really not really good when they're working against each other, right? Um, so I was in the ICU after my heart cath, and one of my first cousins, found out that was in the hospital having a heart cath. Well, she had also had some heart issues that nobody knew, that was kind of a secret to her that she was going through. So she text messaged me and she said, "Hey, um, I've heard about what you're going through. I need you to show your doctor this." So it was all these different symptoms and things that she was having. She said, "My cardiologist didn't find this, my pulmonologist found it. So go to a pulmonologist." So I showed my doctor her text message. The doctor, because of that text message, kept me in the hospital 2 more days to run tests, just based off of that message, not from his own knowledge, from that message, right? So went there, had an echocardiogram, same thing came up, tricuspid regurgitation, all this stuff. Really, you can live with it. We can do a mild, we can do a what they call a non-invasive procedure to
Mhm.
make to make the blood pump to your heart better, right? Because I had 2 leaky valves. So went to the pulmonologist on a Thursday, which I would believe was the 6th, April 6th, 7, 8, 9, April 6th. Went to the pulmonologist. Pulmonologist listens to my chest and was like, "Oh, I think you got asthma." So I'm like, "Oh God, this is just everything just wrong with me," right? So he's like, "You think you got asthma now?" So I got asthma, I got all this stuff. So I'm like, "Okay." So he's like, "We're gonna give you an inhaler." So I go back in the room, and he says, "Let me look at you." So he starts looking at me, and he's like, "Oh my goodness." And I said, "What's going on?" He says, "Your legs are extremely swollen." I said, "My legs are swollen." I said, "Well, what does that mean?" He's like, "Your heart." I said, "No, wait a minute. Y'all said wasn't nothing wrong with you said my heart was okay." "Well, no. Well, hold on. Just maybe some water, right? Maybe like be a little water. We're gonna give you some water pills and then see how that does on your next visit, right?" So that was the 6th. On the 8th, I went back to my cardiologist. Sat down with him, and he said he was telling me all the stuff I needed to do to mitigate my symptoms. So I asked him about the tricuspid regurgitation in the myocardial bridge, because it was the pulmonologist who came and did the echocardiogram. My cardiologist never saw the echocardiogram. So when I asked him what that was, he's kind of stopped, and he said, "Where did you read that at?" And I said, "Well, I read it on the paper I got." And the pulmonologist that came to the hospital, he said, "Well, pulmonologist came after?" I said, "Yeah, pulmonologist came after you left." And he said, "Oh, okay." And he just looked real concerned. He said, "Okay." He said, "Well," he said, "what we can do, that's, don't worry about, that's not too bad. We can do what the other doctor said. You can do a non-invasive procedure, or we can go in to your heart. We can go into your heart." And then I first thing was like, "Well, Dad, I don't want you messing with my heart if you don't have to. So we'll schedule the procedure, the non-invasive procedure," which we scheduled. So he said, "But other than that, Miss Carter, I want you to go back to exercising. I want you to limit yourself 30 minutes a day. And I want you to be comfortable. You're okay. Monitor your heart still. If your chest hurts, let us know, and come back to the office if that happens. But everything looks good, and we'll get that procedure and get you, feeling better." So I'm like, "Okay, but I could go back to exercising, right?" Yeah. So went to exercising that day. That day, as soon as I got home, was excited, told my husband. Got up next day for work. I always have to tell this story. Fabulously red lipstick, just like I had this on, red suit, excited. I'm exercising again. I'm feeling great again. I'm excited. I'm happy. Went to tell my boss, went to a town hall meeting. I normally work at home, went to a town hall meeting. My husband also left that day to do some work downtown. So I would have been at home by myself. So I go and tell my manager, I'm laughing and joking, because that's what I do at work. I'm laughing and joking. I'm like, "Guess what? I'm gonna be back in the field. I'm gonna be able to yell at taxpayers again. I'm excited. I won't have to grab my chest when I'm yelling at taxpayers." She's like, she's like, "I can do all this." Went to my desk to gather some items to get ready for this town hall meeting. Immediately started feeling dizzy. Just out of the blue, started feeling dizzy. Next thing you know, it felt like I had paralysis in my face. Next thing you know, there's doctors all over me. I had just suffered an acute stroke. So from there, started my 2-year recovery of being incapacitated on the left side, not being able to walk and talk like I did. Everything that I took for granted was taken away. Um, but it's when my life began. That's when my new life began. Um, it was a very difficult road to go through. Um, from being told that you're okay, to waking up at a whole different person. But I will tell you that it pulled me up. I had to face my mortality not only once but twice in a year's span, and I just started doing things differently. Now I can't say that it was overnight because I heard doctors say, "Hey, I've been rolling with Swiss rolls and Little Debbie's most of my life," and so it's like I can't just give that up. How do you just give that up? How do you just change when you want to survive so bad, but you got all these things that you got to do in order to do it? So it is still a journey for me, but I learned a valuable lesson to always listen to my gut, to always listen to my gut, to always advocate for myself. If now I can challenge my doctors. At first I thought a doctor was a doctor, and I couldn't challenge a doctor because, they know more than me, right? But I know me more than they know me, right? So, um, at that time I fired all my doctors, all of them. Y'all all got to go. Every single one of y'all got to go. I fired all of them. And I started finding doctors that look like me. I'm like, I want a Black doctor that understands me culturally, that doesn't have this strong, you a strong Black woman is stress, and and even changing my doctors is not enough, people. I mean, doctors are supposed to treat everybody fairly. Everybody, it is a doctor. A doctor takes an oath to treat us all, regardless of the color of our skin, to treat us fair and give us fair and equitable treatment. So now it's about going to Capitol Hill and making sure that we are protected as patients, and doctors are held accountable when people go into the hospital and say they're sick and they get sent home and then they die in their sleep the next day. It's just like another number. No, I'm not a number. I'm a human being. I'm not just a patient. Think of me as what I had to tell my doctor. Think of me as your daughter. Think of me as your daughter coming telling you that I'm having heart pains or I'm having chest pains. What would you tell your daughter? Treat me like you would treat your daughter or your mother. And some people might not give a damn about their mama. So I don't know how that means, but what I'm saying. So I always say so much, but I'm just saying, treat me like you would treat someone that you love. So now it is so important that women that look like me, that look like us, that we take care of ourselves. We know how to advocate for ourselves. We know the symptoms and the risks. We're being proactive in our health. You're eating right, you're exercising, you're talking to the doctors, holding yourself accountable. Because the thing is that we have all these things going on with our body. And then we go to the doctor and the doctor's like, well, what are your symptoms? And you're like, well, I had a headache last week. No, you've been having headaches every day.
Mhm.
I had a chest pain, no, you've been having chest pains. You've been feeling those chest pains. Make sure you keep a record of your symptoms, because a lot of times doctors don't know everything. But there may be another doctor. They say, well, hey, I did have this patient that had X, Y, and Z. Let me send you to Dr. Reynolds, and Dr. Reynolds may be able to know what's going on. And Dr. Reynolds can say, oh, well, I know you have ASCVD, which what I was diagnosed with. I got a neurologist that sent me to a hematologist, that sent me to an epidemiologist. I mean, they sent me to every doctor, and it took me going through 4 or 5 doctors to finally give me a diagnosis, to finally put me on the right medication.
Shanta Colette, we want to jump in right there and first just thank you for laying out what is a very complex story. Yes, let's give all praise, and we love the comments of people first giving gratitude that you're here to tell the story. We know that more often than we want to talk about from the stats Dr. Jazz gave, that there are women who don't wake up from what you endured, who have the stroke and they're gone. You know, I talked about that experience, who have this winding road of challenges and just being properly diagnosed, met with indifference and all types of challenges built into our healthcare delivery system. And yet you're here today and now an on fire advocate with a powerful story. And we can see from the comments what everyone has taken away. We love the questions, the comments, and we want to make room in our tight schedule. This was all necessary to hear, to say, and we want to take some questions from the audience because we know they have questions for both you, Shanta, Colette, and Dr. Jasmine. Thank you again for sharing that story. We could go on for another hour just listening. We saw how much people could deeply relate, and it brings up emotions for me as I watched my mother go through this ridiculous cycle of people missing the symptoms and misdiagnosing for years, prescribing for asthma, prescribing for weight gain, prescribing for, you know, other things, when all along it was a leaky heart valve that was making her gain weight, that was making her short of breath. And by the time they paid attention, it was so overwhelming. She needed a heart valve surgery replacement just 6 years after having a heart attack and a triple bypass, but it wasn't seen. So we want to ask, you know, Dr. Zapata, how can we work to prevent what Shanta Collette talked about through her journey from happening? You spoke about it in terms of advocacy, but how, as we pull questions from the audience chat, and Aaliyah, I'll have you ready to fire those out. What can we do, Dr. Zapata, when we're stuck in what Shanta Collette described?
Whew, there was so much there. And thank you again, Shanta Collette, for opening up about this. You are so strong. And I just thank you so much, because even having to relive that and tell that story has to pull up some emotions, because that's traumatic experiences when you go through a healthcare system and you are not believed or heard, or even when, like you said, you had to confront your own mortality. So again, thank you so much for sharing that. And I would say, as far as prevention, some of the things that I mentioned in my presentation, from doing the things that we can control, getting a support system, exercise, diet, just eliminating any personal risk, personal behaviors that we could change, but also it's really key getting into the doctors to be able to have those conversations. Get with a doctor that you feel comfortable with and trust. As Shanta Collette said, everybody had to go. Everybody got fired. Okay. Just like in the same way, when you are running a business or a corporation, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in here. If you're running a business or a corporation and people are messing up, not doing right, communications off, you fire them and you get someone else. Why is that? Why that should be the same as the healthcare system. Really getting someone that you connect with and that you can trust, so that you can go in regularly, getting those regular checkups and being able to advocate for yourself. Also, for every healthcare visit, if you can, bring somebody with you, so that if you forget something, they can help you, they can help hold people accountable. Those would be some of the things, just from reflections of what we could do right now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Zapata. Aaliyah, let's pull about 3 critical questions. We know that our guest, Kina Stay Fly Atkinson, is here to lead us through our fitness segment, which we will condense a little bit, but we want to hear, you know, what questions have risen to the top.
Yeah, thanks everybody so much for your questions. I have shot them all over to Dr. Zapata. There was some great questions. Thankfully, even in the conversation, we've already brought forth the connection between the legs and the heart, and the concerns around that. But there are questions of like, why is there a difference between the way symptoms display in men and women?
That's a good one. So real quick, I'll rapid fire answer those good questions coming in. Interestingly, there's a lot of research about that, but it's thought that women have a higher pain tolerance than men, which, women, okay, our bodies go through a lot. And so a lot of the symptoms women just tend to ignore. So that's why it presents a little bit differently, because there's a higher pain tolerance.
Okay, wonderful. And we're talking about diet, and we know one of the fastest ways to lose weight, we've all done these fad diets, is like a keto diet. but what is the effect of that type of diet, which is so high in maybe meat, to our hearts?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say for this one, everybody's different. Talk to your individual healthcare provider about this one. But some of the concerns with a keto diet is high in fats. And so you have to work with a nutritionist to know exactly making sure you eat the right types of fats that can be heart healthy. There are some fats that are actually heart healthy, like, for example, omega fatty acids. Those are in certain types of fish like cod and salmon and sardines. That's a good type of fat, that fatty acid that can help reduce inflammation. But then there's other fats that can actually worsen heart disease. So if you're thinking about the keto diet, doctors in general don't want you to just go eating all those fats. You need to know the specific right ones. So talk to your healthcare provider about that. But that's like the controversy with the keto diet.
Awesome. And then we were having a conversation in the chat about Lisa's mom not having any symptoms. Is there a test? You haven't had symptoms, but now we've seen these stats and we know 49% of us have it. Is there a test for heart disease?
This is a great question. Some of the biggest so there are actual tests that you can get. It's usually for when people are more advanced stages. There are actual scans that doctors can do to look at your vessels, but that's not what's typical. So if you go into your doctor tomorrow for your physical and you demand a scan of your heart and they say no, please don't fire your doctor just because they said no to that, because that's not the standard. So yes, there are tests they can actually look, and some people get those, but the way in general you look for it is going to the doctor and getting them to test your cholesterol levels. Cholesterol levels are the ones that can build up the plaques in your vessels. And there's some good ones and bad ones. So go to your doctor and ask them to check your cholesterol levels. That indicates possible heart disease. Also, you want to know your blood pressure. This was one of the questions that came through in the chat as well. When you have very, very high blood pressure, it causes a lot of damage to your blood vessels. And when your blood vessels are damaged, they're more likely to build up plaque, which can then cause heart disease. So go to the doctor, you can test your blood pressure, that'll help. And then finally, get checked for diabetes. When you have diabetes, which is common in African-American population, that can increase your risk for heart disease later on as well. So those are the ways you can kind of check some screening tests to see what your risk factors are. And I'll stop there.
Absolutely. And just, I know that's Aaron Bailey in the background who's reminding us that high blood pressure is also called hypertension. So knowing those terms is very important. We wish we had 10 hours today to talk about this topic because we can, and we're hearing so many comments. Thank you, Ms. Brenda Brown, for your comment about insisting for that extra test and demanding that they stretch your full expensive insurance out to pay for the test that you needed to get to the solution and the medication changes that you deserve to save your life and your health. That is the level of demand we have to take no matter what insurance we have. With that, please continue to put your comments in the chat. We do have to shift quickly to our fitness break, and we're going to come back and ask some other rapid fire questions and prizes and give Shanta Quillette a chance to give us a little bit of a wrap up. But for now, let's take a station break. Get up and move with Kina. Aaliyah, you want to introduce her quickly?
Yes, there's so much to say about Kina. We don't have a lot of time, but we're all about to get up, get active. We've been sitting for a long time, and we know that fitness is so important to our health. So please, if you're able to, whether it's in your chair, whether you stand, join us. Kina is the owner of Ruji Wellness, multifaceted wellness and lifestyle company that merges all her passions for health and fitness and wealth building. She's a certified yoga instructor. She's a work instructor. She teaches classes across the greater Madison area and online, so please join us. In addition to having a bachelor's degree in psychology, she's a trauma-informed social justice yoga teacher, trainer. She does dance, she's an activist, she's a mother, she's a speaker. She's all those things. And we're about to enjoy her getting us up and getting us moving right now. Take it away, Kina.
Thank you, Aaliyah. All right, y'all. So we're doing 2 songs today. Got a little bit of Janet Jackson because I know her documentary was exciting. So we're going to jump in with some Janet, y'all. So if you want to stay in your chair, you can do the arm movements and the leg movements from chair. Otherwise, hop on up and we're going to dance for about 7 minutes, okay? All right. Good job, y'all. All right, one more. This one is pretty easy.
What you doing? Where you at? Oh, you got plans. Don't say that. I'm sipping wine in a robe. I look too good to be alone. My house clean, my pool warm. Just shake smooth like a newborn. We should be dancing, romancing. The east wing and the west wing of this mansion is happening. I ain't playing no games. Every word that I say is coming straight from the heart. So if you're trying to lay in these arms, I'ma leave the door open. I'ma leave the door open. I'ma leave the door open, girl. I'ma leave the door open. That you feel the way I feel and you want me like I want you to, baby. Tell me that you're coming through. Ooh, you're so sweet, so tight. I won't bite unless you like. If you smoke, what you smoke? I got the haze. And if you're hungry, girl, I got the lace. Ooh, baby, don't keep me. There's so much love we could be making. I'm talking kissing, cuddling, rose petals in the bathtub. Girl, it's jumping, it's bubbling. I ain't playing no games. Every word that I say is coming straight from the heart. So if you're trying to lay in these arms, I'ma leave the door open. I'ma leave the door open. I'ma leave the door open, girl. I'ma leave the door open. That you feel the way I feel and you want me like I want you tonight, baby. Tell me that you're coming through. La 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 la, I need you, baby. La la la, I gotta see you, baby. La la la,
Let me hear y'all. Yeah.
la la la. Come here, come here. La 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 la. Hey, I'ma leave my door open, baby. I'ma leave my door open, girl. And I'm hoping that you feel the way I feel and you want me like I want you tonight, baby. Tell me that you're coming
Let me hear y'all. Hey. There you go, y'all. Woo! Great job, everybody. Great job. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much, Kina. Let's clap up Kina. Kina Atkinson, Wellness. Yes.
Bye.
Thank you, Kina.
Thank you.
We love you. Wow, it was so joyful to see you all grooving. I have never seen such big smiles on your faces, Nichelle. You know, we saw you over there just in the zone. Miss Candace, you cut a rug every day of the week. We saw you jamming. If you stood up or if you sat in a chair, we got that movement in, that exercise that feels so amazing. And the best part is seeing the smile on your faces. Please follow Kina at all her social channels. We'll try to drop a few in. Kina is one of our in-house instructors for our Project Live Well. And as you can see, she knows how to get us moving in all the best ways. Talk to you soon, Kina. See you next month in class. All right, so getting back to our last few minutes, we want to do a very important segment before we wrap up, and that is prizes. That is prizes. And we're going to try to do them very quickly so that we can hear from our guests today with some closing thoughts. And in the future, we may stretch this event to be 3 hours long because today was so rich. And there's so many more things to discuss, questions to answer. But Aaliyah, for now, let's give the women what they've been waiting for.
Okay, I was a little bummed when you said, let's do it kind of quick because I love the drum roll and I love the excitement of it all. So I will do it as fast as possible. And then for the bigger ones towards the end, I'll get a little slower and do the drum roll. Okay. All right, so our general prize category is going to be the first 12 prizes. So first, winning a $25 Amazon gift card. Give it up for Josephine Robinson. Congrats, Josephine. And next, a $25 Target gift card. Give it up for Jeanette Arthur. All right, we have 3 Honey Pot travel pack and gift cards for $30. Will go to Caitlin Young. Okay, y'all gonna have to help me with these names now. Sarakia Sabeo, I'm killing that. Someone put that in the chat. Antonce Geneva, pop that in the chat, somebody. Congratulations, you 3, for the Honey Pot travel pack and gift card. All right, a Foundation for Black Women's Wellness swag pack, which includes a t-shirt and a bracelet. We have 3 winners for that. Let's give it up for Glenette Woods. Let's give it up for Yvonne Greer. Let's give it up for Keisha Jones. Congratulations. Okay, the prizes will just keep on increasing in value, y'all. A $50 Target gift card goes to Tracy Daniel. Congratulations, Tracy. A $50 Amazon gift card goes to Arlene Foster. Congratulations, Arlene. Okay, we'll keep on moving on up. A $75 Amazon gift card goes to Yolanda Shelton Morris. Congratulations, Yolanda. A $75 Target gift card goes to Shernette Gosberry. Congratulations. All right. Now for the prizes where we have been paying attention. We've been watching you. We've been looking at the chat. We warned you in the beginning. The most engaged, the most live attendee, and the best red outfit. Y'all made that one very, very challenging, might I say. But here we go. Drum roll, please. For $100 Amazon gift card to the most engaged guest of the day, give it up for Alexis Timmons. Woo! Well done. Okay, $100 Target gift card for the most live attendee goes to Janice Blockbanks. Woo! Congratulations. And the best red outfit with $100 Asheville shopping spree goes to Candace McDowell. Congratulations to all our winners and all our attendees. We all won today with this information. We all win today that we are showing up healthy, thriving, and just going to take all the advice that Dr. Jasmine Zapata and all the lessons that Shanta Collette shared with us to move forward. So we're all winners, but congratulations to those who won prizes.
Absolutely. And congratulations again. Everyone says the hat, though, Miss Candace, the hat just took the day. Nobody could beat the hat that Miss Candace is wearing today. And we just want to congratulate her for always setting the place on fire. With that, we want to also give an opportunity for our very special guests who we could literally listen to all day. Let me just say how fantastic your presentations, your testimonies have been today. I wish we had more time, but in the sake of time, in our last 2 minutes of time, Shanta Collette, what powerful message do you want to leave with everyone here today about what's next? You know, what are the steps we take to secure our heart health as you have?
Yeah, well, it's very small sentence. You are your best investment. And what you put into yourself is what you will get out. And that's from, drinking your water, exercising, mental health, emotional wellness. What you put in, your body will give back to you. So if you don't take care of your body won't take care of you. And that's really what it is. It's just prioritizing and being proactive in your health overall. Positive vibes only, even the people you're around, that can mess up your emotional health as well and your mental health. So just make sure that you take care of yourself. One little important thing I wanted to mention, and I don't know if Dr. Zapata can chime in on this, but one thing I've learned is, what I've learned to doctors is doctors don't always, or it's just kind of this code word. You're not going to catch another doctor speaking down on another doctor. You might see them look at the paperwork and be like, that's really interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have done that. But one thing I would say is make sure that when you go to the doctor, you look at your medical records, because sometimes doctors put things in your medical records that they don't express to you. And that's what I learned with my neurologist. She was very open and candid with me. And she saw a lot of things where she said, did you know this? Did you know this? Well, they put this in here, and this would have been a little bit alarming for me. So it helps the next doctor. So if you do anything, pull your records, look at your records. And if you don't understand them, take them to your doctor and ask questions. And I'm sure your doctor will be open to discussing those with you. So I just wanted to put that little thing in there, but just know you are your best investment. Live life, be fabulous, and smile all the time, and drink lots of water. You're not what they say, you're not a bad if you're not drinking water.
And Chantaquillette, just 30 seconds. How are you now? Where are you? How are you? And how is your life better?
So I like to be as transparent as I can. I have my days. Some days I can run down the street in a ball gown, and some days I can't. But it's day by day. I do everything I can to enhance my quality of life. In this life, I'm doing everything that I want to do. There's no regrets. I learned in a quick 5 seconds from being in the office laughing to waking up being a recovering stroke patient. That time is of essence. Time is the only thing. It's the greatest commodity on this earth, and you can't get it back. So do the things you love now. Have no regrets. Enjoy life, and that's what I do. I stay happy. I don't let anything worry me. I know that a lot of things are out of my control. I don't know, how long God has granted me on this earth, but until he decides that he wants to call me home, I'm living my life to the best, highest positive vibrations that I can. Right. And that's what we should all do. Be happy, don't worry, and laugh more, and that's what I do. I took up, I always wanted to be a comedian, and all I could do was talk about it until I got on the stage and decided that, hey, let me give it a try. And so now I'm making, I have a following of almost 400,000, and I'm making people laugh. And I'm doing that through God, because that is what, let's say God, what he only brings is what he say, brings his strongest soldiers to the war. Right. And so he takes you through these things so you can be a testimony, so you can inspire. What's the purpose of, going through all this if you're not going to do nothing with it. Right. So God's like, hey, do what you can and bring more people to me, right? And take care of your heart. We're all connected by the heart. Remember that.
Yes, Chantaquillette, we want to thank you for being with us today. And I'm going to put it out there in the public space that we may have to follow up and ask you to do a little comedic segment at Black Women's Wellness Day this September. Who wants to see Chantaquillette at Black Women's Wellness Day? See, the vote is yes. We'll be in touch. There's more to hear from you. We thank you, and we give God all glory that you are with us today, beautiful and radiant, healthy and well.
I love you. Thank you.
Yes. Dr. Zapata, what closing words would you offer up today?
Yes, I put it in the chat, just like when you go to the doctor and they write you a prescription, 5 action steps I want everybody to take. The first one is to schedule at least one healthy meal for this week. At least, if you want to do it every day, fine, at least one. where you schedule it out, at least one healthy meal. The second thing, plan on your calendar at least one time you're going to do a fitness activity. So I want you to pull out your phone before the end of today and say, Tuesday from 5 to 6, I'm gonna go take a walk with my friend or whatever. I want everybody to get your next appointment on the books. So if you already have your next appointment with your doctor, great. But if you do not have an upcoming appointment, make sure you get that scheduled. Schedule one self-care activity for yourself this week, and then make sure you are connected with an accountability partner. And if you don't have one, you better slide in somebody's DMs or message somebody right now. Everybody get somebody to hold you accountable. So that's you could check that off the list and message me on Facebook or send me a message to let me know that you did that. Take a picture of yourself doing some of those things. Tag me. I want to help you out on your journey. I love you guys. That's my last comment. And Black women deserve long, healthy lives. And I love you guys. Thanks for the opportunity to come. And this has been an amazing event.
We love you both. You know how we feel about you, Dr. Zapata. Again, this has been rich information. I know it will save lives. I know change is already happening. I know we have action steps that people are going to take the minute that we sign off. Let's clap up our guests one more time. Thank you, Dr. Zapata. Thank you, Shanta Collette. Thank you, Kina. Thank you to our sponsors, UW Health, MGNE, Roots and Wings, and the Pearl Milling Foundation. And thank you to our partners, the Deltas and the AKAs who are in the house today to share the space. We love you, we bless you all. And remember these parting words: know thyself, love thyself, heal thyself. Our wellness starts with us, and we have all the power. And with that, we'll see you back in this space next year. We'll see you at Black Women's Wellness Day in September. Please be involved with all of our programs. Visit our website, ffbww.org. We love you, and protect your heart. You heard what the doctor and Shanta Collette said. We love you. Have a great weekend. Yes.